he jumped in on the world record attempt to sub 7, and
Yeah.
he's phenomenal. He just has that mentality, and to hear athletes like that are switching into this kind of sport is terrifying because of the mentality they bring, the endurance they have, the doggedness they have. Like it's phenomenal to think that like athletes struggle so much in sport, in athletics, in triathlon, and now you have a gym sport, an endurance gym sport of a multidisciplinary, and they're like, this is big because people can see it. People can touch it when they go to a gym, and you know they can't see themselves doing an Ironman, but they can see themselves doing this.
Doing
And the
this, yeah.
team element is fantastic.
It's great. I had a very surreal moment in Berlin a few weeks ago where I was in the same heat or same wave as Sebastian, and we're racing each other neck and neck for a lot of it. He'd gain a little bit on the runs. I'd catch him on every single station and go out with him again. And at the end of the race, we were in Roth when he won Roth a few times, and he was the big name in triathlon. Now, obviously, I was nowhere near him in those kind of races. He didn't know who the hell I was. But we went to go up to him afterwards because we had got a picture with him and our daughter when she was like 2 years old at one of those races back in Roth. And when we approached him, he was like, "Oh, you're Tom Hogan. I follow all your stuff on Hyrox and I listen to everything you have to say about the sport."
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Well, if he wants to, if he listens to this and wants to come onto the podcast, me and Sean we won't charge him
I'm conscious we've had you nearly an hour on the podcast, Tom. Wrapping this one up because you talk about how marathon runners have gone towards Hyrox. You've talked about how Ironman as well. I've seen retired Premier League footballers as well. I want to say John Terry, but there was definitely one or two footballers. Was it John Terry, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I think the lady who trains him does a lot of Hyrox, and that's how he got involved. But the guy who won Doha, I want to say last week, so many Hyrox every week now, I lose track. Shadiq El Tafori is his name. He played for Man City and Man United.
Wow. That's class.
Yeah.
One we haven't mentioned, and I might get you a bit of a rant to end the podcast on. You haven't talked about the fittest men on earth, CrossFitters. Have you seen many of them on the Hyrox circuit over the last couple of years?
They're just trying to wind me up now.
Yep.
The CrossFitters, like, they think they're the best. So that fittest on earth thing drives me crazy, or fittest in Ireland, because like, how can you say you're that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I could argue I'm it, and some cyclist go either he's it, and then a runner can say he's it, and the boxer can say he's the fittest, and swimmer. Doesn't make any sense for a start. So to claim you're the fittest in the world or the fittest in the country is just stupid. But but the CrossFit guys do quite well. Like, I will say this, they're impressive for the size that they are. Like, when you see the top CrossFit guys coming into Hyrox, like, they can move. They just can't move as well as the top Hyrox guys can move because we're probably 10 kilos lighter than they are. And they'll never close the gap for a top level CrossFit guy. Like, who's the guy who was banned for drugs? Ricky Garrard. Like, he did Sydney this year. For someone like him to close the gap, he has to lose probably 15 kilos and dedicate a year of his life to running. Like, and they'll never close the gap if they're not willing to do that. And they won't do that. Like, they just will not do that.
They lose all their Olympic lifting kind of things and all the rest. The weight lifts weight, and that's dropping if they unless they commit themselves to Hyrox only. But it sounds like some are doing it just to prove a point, I suppose, or maybe that's my negative thinking of CrossFit athletes as well coming over.
I think
we're never going to CrossFit athlete the podcast, are we, Eric?
No.
I think that they thought that they would be able to just transition over and like win the races. Like, I raced in Basel the start of last season, and some guy he'd won like the Switzerland Championship 7 years in a row. He's fittest man in Switzerland for 7 years, and he'd been to the games and stuff like that, and he was with us on the first run. He murdered the ski. He got out like 10, 15 seconds ahead of the rest of us. And then we never saw him again. Like, he disappeared. I don't know where he was.
Tommy Tierski, he just went straight into a ditch. He took a right corner too hard and just was gone.